Guys, you gotta understand way back when, we had never seen anything like this. A waveframe grenade launcher. Martyr's Retribution was the one that started it all. You couldn't have Forbearance without Marty. And now it has returned to us with a host of new traits and the Dawn Origin trait, which is a very good origin trait, by the way. There's a reason why Perfect Paradox is my most used shotgun in the kinetic slot for 1-2 punch builds. It's disgusting. Now, with all that being said, though, the competition amongst waveframes is pretty hot. Forbearance has really been the undisputed king now for forever. You've got Undercurrent with roles like Volt Shot. You've got Explosive Personality, which is a personal favorite of mine inside of PvP. And there's also a few people out there still rocking Dead Messenger. However, I do believe Marty has what I'm personally looking for in a waveframe. So let's jump into the traits. In our third column, we have Heal Clip, Auto-Loading Holster, Envious Assassin, Field Prep, Demolitionist, and Threat Detector. In our fourth column, we have Incandescent, Kill Clip, Vorpal, Strategist, Adrenaline Junkie, and Desperate Measures. Now, I really love that they threw Incandescent on this weapon. We've seen weapons like Tusk of the Boar that leans into things like Hatchling and Slice, Undercurrent leaning into Bolt Shot. Having these waveframes dip into our subclasses means lots of synergy. Right out the gate, you could see that with both Heal Clip and Incandescent. Now, one of the most pivotal changes, though, for waveframe grenade launchers with the launch of the final shape was Bungie finally made blast radius mean something. In the past, I would be like, hey, just spec completely for velocity, but blast radius now affects how long and how wide your wave is, which is funny because on other grenade launchers, blast radius is not good. You don't want higher blast radius, but here on a waveframe, blast radius is a good thing. Now, just for a point of reference, the wavelength increases about half a meter every 10 blast radius. I will say though that the width of the wave doesn't seem nearly as much. Like we're talking maybe 0.25 meters every 10 blast radius. But the point here, guys, is that going in with as much blast radius on your waveframe is the way to go. Now I'm gonna start off with some of those perks in that left column that really stood out. We've got Demolitionist, where kills with this weapon generate grenade energy. Activating your grenade ability reloads this weapon from reserves. Essentially, this perk refunds 10% of your energy per kill, which I know doesn't seem like a lot considering that this is a special weapon, but with this being a waveframe, you're going to be hitting multiple enemies. Now, the enhanced version kicks this up to 11%. It's not that big of a difference. And yes, everything here can be enhanced. Next up, we have Envious Assassin. I've utilized Envious Assassin before on Tusk of the Boar. Essentially, defeating targets with other weapons before drawing this one out transfers ammo to the magazine from reserves. This effect, though, overflows the magazine based on the number of targets defeated. Not a bad perk, guys. Essentially, if you just want to have 2 shots, or in some cases 3 shots, depending on if you double proc it, you could do so. Keep in mind though, to auto reload Marty though, you have to get a kill with one of your other weapons. You can almost treat it like auto loading holster, but you have to get another kill. And I will say one of the beautiful things about Envious Assassin on a grenade launcher is that just a single kill with another weapon will load Marty. And this is because Destiny often rounds up its perks. So triggering the perk at 10% overflow, round up to 1 in the magazine. Now the enhanced version of this perk is pretty nice. It raises the overflow amount perk per kill by 2.5%. So instead of it being 10% contribution from primary weapon kills and specials being 20%, it's now 12.5% per kill on primaries and 22.5% on specials. Now, what this really nets out to is that instead of requiring 10 kills for that max overflow, now it just requires 8 for your primary weapon kills. Now, something to keep in mind about Envious Assassin is that if you swap loadouts at all, you will lose your overflowed ammo. This is a change Bungie made after they did the reserve change, where you can no longer reserve swap armor pieces to fully load out your ammo capacity. And it really just affects anything in your loadouts. Even if you change between primary weapons, this will cause you to lose your ammo. So be very careful, guys, when utilizing any weapon with Envious Assassin, and if you happen to be loadout swapping. Next, we have auto-loading holster. This states that the holster weapon is automatically reloaded after a short period of time. Now, this perk reloads Marty after 2.5 seconds of being holstered. It's a great perk, guys. You don't have to think about it. You literally just put it back in, stow it, you fire your 1 shot off, swap to your other weapons to do cleanup, and just go back and forth. The enhanced version of this perk drops that timer down though from 2.5 seconds to 2.3 seconds, which really isn't that big of a difference. Now finally, we have the final perk that we really like here, that being Heal Clip. This reads that reloading shortly after dealing a final blow grants cure to you and your nearby allies. Now this is an incredibly powerful perk, arguably the best solar synergy perk in the game. game. Essentially though, upon reloading within 5 seconds of getting a kill, you will grant cure ×2 to yourself and cure ×1 to your surrounding allies. Now this is 120 health back to you and 60 health to your teammates. If you pair this with Martyr though, which reloads every time you shoot, you have a fantastic self-healing weapon. And if you're concerned with the reload speed, which is completely understandable, the enhanced version does increase that reload speed. Now looking at our fourth column, the first perk I want to look at is Desperate Measures. Weapon final blows grant bonus damage. Melee and grenade final blows grant a larger damage bonus that can stack. Now Desperate Measures is a great all-rounder damage perk. Essentially getting a weapon kill will give you a ×1 stack, which lasts for 7 seconds. And if you get a melee or grenade kill, this will grant you additional stacks, up to 3 stacks. Each of these stacks will grant you a stacking 10% damage bonus, up to 30% more damage. Now the enhanced version of Desperate Measures increases that perk's lifespan. So instead of 7 seconds, it's now 8 seconds. It's a great general perk if you're looking to just kill lots of enemies and also synergize with your neutral game abilities. Next we have Vorpal. This increases damage against bosses, vehicles, and guardians with their super active. Now because Marty is a special weapon, it's not going to get the full 20% like our primaries do, but instead it's going to get 15% more damage, as you see here at Coral. It's a pretty good perk, but keep in mind, for me, Marty is not meant for going up against majors, champions, any of those things to proc Vorpal. You're utilizing it to clear out red bars. That's what you're really utilizing it for, which takes us to the beautiful perk here meant for just that, Incandescent. Defeating a target spreads Scorch to those nearby. More powerful combatants and opposing guardians causes Scorch in a larger radius. Now we've seen Incandescent a number of times. I've utilized it on so many different weapons, and for good reason. It's fantastic for clearing out ads and also just taking off damage on the next ads around it, and occasionally with the right loadout it can spark that ignition. Now the amount of Scorch that it spreads is 30 at base when it gets a kill, but when we pair this with Ember of Ashes, this raises it up to 40 Scorch stacks. There's actually so many things you can pair this with. You've got Ember of Singeing, which recharges your class ability when enemies are scorched, and you have enough enemies that die to Incandescent. That of course can cause an ignition at 100 stacks. You could pair this with Solar Fulmination, which is in our artifact, for even more ignition damage. And if you happen to enhance Incandescent, well, this bumps up those Scorch stacks even more with Ember of Ashes, going from 40 to now 45. Now I know a lot of people are probably going to be playing with Prismatic, but Incandescent as well as Hillcliffe, those are 2 perk combinations that are well worth using with just Solar. Now before we get into our God roll, we have to talk about this origin trait. This was probably the trait that sealed the deal for me for Perfect Paradox. I literally use nothing but Perfect Paradox in that kinetic slot, at least for 1-2 punch builds. It comes with the trait though, Cast No Shadows, where dealing melee damage increases his weapon's handling and loads a small amount of ammo from reserves. Now this origin trait does a couple of things with Marty. First up, at base, that 20% mag refill will load a full shot into the mag due to the same thing we talked about with Envious Assassin, and that's Destiny's rounding rules. This means at any point that you're out of ammo, any unpowered or powered melee is going to reload your gun for you. Not only is this a great tool to bypass reloading, but it doesn't seem to have any type of timer or cooldown on it. You can pair it with things like Threaded Spike, Shurikens, or really just any melee. As long as it's hitting enemies, Marty will reload every single time you fire. And this leads to some insane wave frame chains, but I will say it is somewhat situational. Secondly though, paired with this episode's artifact mod, Saint's Inspiration, Cast No Shadows can overflow the mag. This means literally your melee damage will overflow the mag to 2 shots. Now again, it seems to run into a cap because we couldn't get past 2 in the mag, but it's still very, very good. But this artifact and origin trait combination pretty much makes it to where you don't have to reload. You can literally just depend on your melees if you so wish. Now, what are the best rolls for Martyr's Retribution? Well guys, I would recommend Volatile Launch and High Velocity Rounds for your barrel and your mag so that you get that increase in blast radius. This is a stat that matters on a wave frame. The larger the blast radius, the longer the wave. Then for our main perks, I think that Demolitionist paired with Desperate Measures is a pretty good combination. You got the damage buff from Desperate Measures with that first stack upon weapon kill. You've got Demolitionist, which feeds into that second and third stack, leaning into your neutral game. You see the synergy here, guys. Those combinations do work. Alternatively though, you could just swap out Adrenaline Junkie for Demolitionist. If you got a hard-hitting grenade that can give you the immediate 5 stacks, by all means, guys, go that route. Now we also have Envious Assassin. I think Envious is a great perk. Again, you do have to get a kill with your other weapons in order to overflow the mag and even auto reload it. And I would say that if you don't ever want to think about it, then auto loading holster is probably going to be your best bet. But if you don't mind snagging kills with your other weapons and working through those hoops, which is really not that difficult, Envious Assassin is phenomenal. I mean, you have the ability to get 3 shots in the mag, which has incredible ad clearing abilities, especially when paired with things like Incandescent. However, I do believe that the most powerful combination here is Heal Clip and Incandescent. The only issue I have with Heal Clip is that the origin trait does not proc it, which I know makes sense because you need an actual manual reload. But Cast No Shadows, where you deal melee damage to auto reload the weapon, this does not proc Heal Clip. And if you're leaning into a melee based build, you can run into a scenario in which maybe you auto reload the weapon, you can't reload the weapon, you got to shoot a few shots out. You see some of the issues here, guys. With that being said though, the combination of Heal Clip and Incandescent is just so good, especially on Solar. You've got Heal Clip with the ability to provide cure to yourself and your allies. If you pair this with things like Ember of Benevolence on Solar, when you proc that perk, you're gonna have that 400% ability recharge rate at all times. This is a combination that we've utilized so much. I mean, Aberrant Action, that's like its combination is Heal Clip and Incandescent. You could do the same thing here with Marty, but really guys, you can't go wrong with any of these combinations. I really feel like Bungie brought back Marty fully loaded. Martyr's Retribution made its comeback as a graceful phoenix, rising from the proverbial ashes into a weapon full of fire. It has it all: ability regeneration perks, sustain perks, damage perks, and AoE for days. It has a good shot at rivaling other powerhouses in its archetype, like Forbearance and Tusk of the Boar. And in my opinion, Marty is well worth your time. If you're looking to farm this weapon, guys, again, we have guides on the season and on the axe. I will say though, if you're looking to get double perks, because yes, you can get double perks on all these same weapons, you want to run Enigma Protocol. At the end of this, you'll get these weapons to drop. Now, at the same time, you can also just turn in your Ingrams. Even if you can't focus it yet, I'm sure next week we'll have the complete specimen unlocks to then outright focus the weapons themselves. But if you're looking to get double traits and get that God roll, then yes, Enigma Protocol is your best bet. So guys, that's it. That is our review for Marty. Good luck on the grind. This is the OG, the original Waveframe, the one who started it all, and I'm happy to see it back in Destiny. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.